Imagine this. Nothing but ocean all around. No people anywhere in sight, no cell service. And as night falls, a silence so deep that the sound of your own breathing starts to scare you. Now picture yourself stuck there, not just for a day, not for a week, but for a full 4 years. No proper food, no safe shelter, and every morning the same question: will I make it through today? This isn't some movie plot. It's the real-life nightmare of one man who, after one small mistake, ended up alone on a deserted island, where jungle, hunger, wild animals, and mind-breaking loneliness were waiting for him every single moment. There were times he thought about ending it all, times hope completely shattered, but somehow he kept going. How? Is a person really that strong inside? Or does desperation turn us into something we never imagined we could be? Today's story won't just scare you, it'll force you to wonder where true human strength really comes from. The island might look small from afar, but in reality, it was the toughest test of a lifetime. Endless ocean on all sides, thick, unfamiliar jungle in the middle, with danger lurking at every step. The ground made strange noises as you walked, like someone was watching, and at night, the place got even more terrifying. There were no real paths, no safe spots, just raw earth, sharp rocks, and poisonous insects. When it rained, everything turned to mud, and when the sun came out, the whole island baked like an oven. The scariest part was that there were no signs of humans ever being there. If something happened, there was zero hope of rescue. This wasn't some adventure getaway, it was an open prison with no way out. Day by day, he realized the island wasn't just isolating him, it was slowly testing his courage, his faith, and his mental strength, because staying alive here wasn't just a physical fight. It had become a daily battle with the mind and fear itself. It all started like any ordinary day, but that same day turned into the most dangerous turning point of his life. The ship he was on suddenly broke down. The sea was raging. The wood started creaking, and every minute it felt like the ship was about to sink. Panic broke out among the crew. Some said it could be saved. Others said it was too late. Then this island appeared in sight, deserted, silent, and eerie. But in that moment, it seemed better than death. His mind said, "Get off here. Some ship will come along in a few days." Because when we're in danger, we always cling to the easiest hope. He left the ship, reached the shore, and stood there watching one last time. The only way back, that ship, slowly vanishing into the ocean. In that instant, he realized this decision wasn't for a few days. It might be for the rest of his life. Standing on that empty island for the first time, fear hit him hard. Now this fight wasn't against anyone else. It was against life itself. And there'd be no second chance to fix a mistake. The very first night on the island hit him with the truth. The real enemy wasn't the ocean, but the nights that were coming. As soon as the sun went down, strange sounds started coming from the jungle. Sometimes the rustle of leaves, sometimes an animal's scream, and with every sound, his heart beat faster. Hunger was burning like fire in his stomach, but there was nothing to eat. And the biggest fear was not having fire, because without fire, this jungle was a straight-up invitation to death. He gathered dry sticks, rubbed stones together, his hands got scraped raw, his fingers started aching, but no spark came. With every failed attempt, the same thought hit his mind. If I don't get fire tonight, this might be my last night. After hours of struggling, when the fire finally caught, he didn't sit down from joy, but from pure relief, because in that tiny flame he saw not food, but the hope of staying alive. But as the flame settled, it sank in that this was only the beginning, because hunger, fear, and loneliness, these three were now going to test him every single day. In just a few days, he figured out that to win on this island, he didn't have to fight the jungle. He had to make a deal with it. He started looking around carefully, where animal tracks were, which direction water collected in, and which trees might bear fruit. Little by little, He learned to hunt wild goats, made tools from stones and wood, and began reading the ocean to catch fish, the way he used to read books. Rain stopped being a problem and turned into a blessing, because that was his drinking water. The funny thing is, we search survival tips on the internet today, and this guy was learning without any guide, straight from his own mistakes. Sometimes he'd mix up poison and food. Sometimes one small screw-up would waste the whole day. But with every day, he didn't get weaker. He got sharper and more alert, because now life wasn't about comfort anymore. It had become a daily battle to win, and losing meant the end, plain and simple. The days somehow passed, but the nights had become his biggest enemy, because in the dark, it wasn't hunger or animals that attacked, it was loneliness. After weeks without hearing another human voice, his mind started playing weird games. Sometimes he'd think someone was calling his name. Sometimes tree shadows looked like people. He started talking to himself, speaking out loud so he'd remember he was still human. And slowly, he even gave names to rocks and pieces of wood, like they were his friends. It sounds strange, but in that loneliness, that's what kept him from going crazy, because a person can die from hunger. But staying alone for too long breaks the mind. Many times he'd look out at the ocean and yell, "Anybody out there?" And the only answer was the sound of waves. But in that same silence, he learned that if you can keep your mind together, the body finds a way on its own. Every day started with the same hope. Maybe today a ship would show up. As soon as morning came, he'd stare out at the ocean, and if even a tiny shadow appeared on the far horizon, his heart would race, like life was rushing back to him. Ships did appear sometimes. He'd light a fire, send up smoke, wave his arms, climb on rocks and yell, but the distance was so great that no one could hear him. Every time the ship sailed on, something broke inside him, like another piece of hope had dropped into the ocean. Still, he wouldn't give up, because he'd decided that if he let go of hope, the island would swallow him alive. The funny but bitter truth was that hope hurt him the most, yet it was the same thing that got him out of bed every next morning, because on that deserted place, staying alive meant convincing yourself all over again that tomorrow might be better. One day, everything was the same as always, the same ocean, the same sky, the same waiting, but that day, the shadow on the distant horizon was different. This time, he didn't waste a second. He threw every stick he had into the fire, made the smoke so thick his eyes burned, and yelled with everything he had, like it was his last shout ever. His heart was saying that if this ship left too, maybe nothing would be left at all. And then, for the first time in 4 years, it happened. The ship slowed down, changed direction, and started coming toward him. When the boat reached the shore and human faces appeared, he couldn't say a word, because 4 years of silence had taken his voice away. He looked like a wild man from the jungle, but in his eyes it was clear. This wasn't just any guy. This was someone who'd fought life and won. And in that moment he realized the island hadn't been his grave. It had been his test, and he'd passed it. This story isn't just about one man being stuck on a deserted island for 4 years. It's the story of that strength in humans we often underestimate. In our everyday lives, we panic over little problems and say, "I can't handle this." But this man showed us that when things are at their worst, that's when our real power comes out. Despite hunger, fear, loneliness, and hope breaking over and over, he didn't give in, because instead of cursing the situation, he chose to change himself. Maybe that's the biggest lesson. We can't always control what happens, but we can definitely choose how we stand up to it. If this guy could stay alive alone for 4 years, just think why we can't fight our own struggles. That's why stories like this don't scare us. They remind us that humans aren't made just to survive, but to keep moving forward no matter what.